Nearly everyone has a movie they saw early in their childhood, and while it may not be that you absolutely loved it, you remember it for one reason or another years later, and when you ask others about it, no one ever seems to have a clue what you're talking about. Enter Josh and Sam, a 1993 movie I rented quite a few times and have no real memory of. All I remembered when I watched it last night was its basic premise: two young brothers steal a car and head for Canada. I'm almost positive the cover to this VHS alone is what made me rent it on impulse one night all those years ago, along with its tagline, "Why run away from home when you can drive?" Peter Travers of Family Life magazine says a comic adventure. That's not even a review, dude. That'd be like if I... A comedic adventure. See, that was terrible, but I hope I made my point. And Jeff Craig of 60 Second Preview says deserves to be the hit of the season. I mean, that's slightly better, I guess. Look at Three Ninjas. Both quotes on the front are attributed to publications, as if whoever thought them up didn't want their names associated with it. I see how it says crosses Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Home Alone. I'm just trying to figure out why this is a selling point of these kind of movies, because my problem comes in with the very back of Josh and Sam. The first two words on the back of this are Home Alone. Meets Thelma and Louise. Like,
come and get me! You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Just let that sink in for a minute. I know I'm really digging at the dirt here with this one, but it just gets under my skin for some reason. I'm already pissed off and I haven't even started the review. That's not good. When Josh and Sam starts, we get a fair amount of time devoted to showing us the boys' home life and what makes them so happy.
What are you looking at?
See, Mom, this is what happens when you drink while you're pregnant.
Josh, stay out of this.
Their parents are divorced for one thing, and with their dad living all the way in Florida, the two are forced to spend the summer with him and his new family. Now, is that better than being ignored by their crappy mother who's more obsessed with her new boyfriend Jean-Pierre than, actually being a mother? I don't know.
Oh, yes! Yes! Oh, the crowd goes wild!
Even worse, only days after the kids arrive in Florida, their mother gets their father to break the news to them that she's decided to live in Europe for the next year.
How can she pay for this? How is she getting the money?
Can I be excused, please?
It's not your business how she's paying for this. Josh, I'm not finished.
So they're about to be shuffled onto a plane again when a heavy storm breaks out, grounding all of the flights. The kids are put up in a hotel room where, through mischief, boredom, and curiosity probably, Josh ends up downstairs at some sort of reunion where he is mistaken by a drunk man as his long-lost son.
Joe might ever mention the name Derek Baxter.
Oh, yeah, sure. She talks about you all the time.
She did, really?
You know how your mother and I worry about you.
She worries about you, too.
She does?
I guess. I don't know.
My God, it could be him.
It has to be.
Now, they do actually explain why, but it's not really that important. Anyway, like complete dumbasses, these kids end up getting in the car with him. Now, he drives them to what he thinks is their grandmother's house, and too deep into the lie at this point, the boys break into the house, which luckily no one seems to be home, and Drunky comes in with them, but when he discovers through family photos that these kids are lying to him, he gets angry and attacks them, and this is where the thick of the movie starts.
Snap your scrawny little neck!
I warned you!
Knocking this dude unconscious, Josh truly believes that he's murdered him, and the two kids steal his car and head off into the night. Now, a large part of the plot that I've been skipping over concerns a lie that Josh has told Sam in order to keep him more on his side instead of teaming up against him with those stepbrothers.
Yeah, he was afraid you might be a homo. We already know you are.
Through photo manipulation and fake computer documents, Josh has Sam convinced that he's a strategically altered mutant.
This is me!
And I'm telling you this because not only does it play a very important role in the drama between these two brothers, how do I even put this? Right after stealing the car, the two pull over and are arguing over whether or not Sam really is a mutant.
Everyone in school called me alien and spaceman. Well, maybe it's because you were always staring off into space and playing by yourself and never paying attention in class.
And then the kid drops this line.
But I wasn't paying attention because I was always thinking about being dead.
Wow, that was dark. Continuing to make their way towards Canada, the two boys grow closer to one another through so much alone time, and the lie Josh told Sam has become a good catalyst for the boys' back-and-forth relationship.
Doesn't it make you feel sad inside?
Genetically altered inside. I'm all metal and wires. It's cold. I don't feel things like you do.
For such a silly little idea, the two kids are decent actors, and the amount of dialogue they were given is far more than most children were given in movies at the time. Especially this deep and emotional weight, not just kid drama. Picking up a hitchhiker, which Sam thinks is the Liberty Maid, another part of the lie Josh told him earlier.
Long and wavy blonde hair, and real beautiful looking. And she wears a red hat when she's out on a mission leading mutant children north to Canada. They don't know her name, except that she's called Liberty, the Liberty Maid.
She begins to drive the two the rest of the way to Canada, and even begins to go along with Sam's crazy idea that he's a mutant, even with Josh trying to set them both straight.
Name's Liberty. Liberty Maid.
Yeah, I told you, sir.
All the necessities they need on this journey come from Jean-Pierre's bank account as copies of his credit cards fund their expedition. Adding an even deeper level to this already decent movie, the boys begin to look up to the Liberty Maid as the mother they never had. She's nice to them, appreciative, and far more of a real mother in this short stint of their lives than their real one ever was. Honestly, I'm stunned at how decently written this is for a kid's film. When their car eventually runs out of gas, their luck begins to run out too at the diner they have stopped at when a nosy officer butts into their affairs.
Your driver's license. Can I see it, please?
Escaping on foot through a pretty dangerous situation, they manage to refuel their car and continue their journey, but with all this weighing on her shoulders, the Liberty Maid decides to tell Sam the war is over and that he can return home.
When the fighting broke out, those two qualities that all the Killer Sams have combined together to make them stop fighting.
And that's it? That's how it ended?
Now Sam, he's way too smart for this, obviously, so he strikes out on his own. At a loss on what to do, Josh is forced to confront his worst fear, that he's just a 12-year-old kid.
That's what you think of me?
Feeling all of the responsibility for his brother's unknown fate, Josh parts ways with the Liberty Maid here, and eventually, through an overly written coincidence, finds him clinging onto the back of an 18-wheeler as it passes beside him when he's on a bus about to cross into Canada. Yeah.
You have to stop that truck! Sam! Sam!
You can tell him onto the border guard.
Now, escaping on foot again, the two finally step foot in Canada, and that's how they hitchhike a ride in Canada, apparently. Eventually arriving at another diner, exhausted and weary, Sam really comes to terms with everything and expresses his appreciation for what Josh has done for him, going so far as to apologize to him even for getting them both in this mess to begin with.
I'm only here because you saved me from that Derek guy.
You saved me too, by throwing that pool ball at him.
Should have known you never would have let them saw me. And if I hadn't been genetically altered, I never would have been such a problem to you.
I'm not saying it's Oscar worthy, but I'm just saying it's kind of amazing how well these two kids acted in this and how well what they were given to act on was written. Bribing a tanning bed owner into pretending the bed is really short-circuiting all of Sam's wires, he is convinced he's now a normal, healthy kid.
How does it feel, Sam? Still cold and metallic inside? No, it feels good and warm, like human flesh.
And Josh says his final goodbyes to him, who he is sending on a plane back to Florida. You know, Josh can't go because he's a murderer.
I talked to the police in Dallas. He only knocked the man out, that's all.
Just remember that I'll always be your brother. I'm still gonna be your best friend, no matter where I am.
Now, Sam realizes the truth on his flight back home, and soon after, he reunites with his dad and spills the beans on everything. This gives the dad even a moment to have a little bit of character development. I mean, they really went all out in this at times.
Nothing is ever the way we want it to be. I always wanted to have one family and my children to have one home. Yeah, I guess you're right. I always wanted Josh to be tougher and stronger than I was because I know what a cruel and mean world it is. And I just wanted Josh to be ready for that.
Now, prepare yourself for this next scene because it comes with a punch.
You must have done a good job.
Why do you say that?
Because I think Josh likes the cruel and mean world better than home.
I was not expecting that heavy of a moment to come from this kind of movie. Back at home, Sam gets the chance to make his brother the hero. One of these dudes is apparently Jake Gyllenhaal. I can't really tell because I have a shitty VHS ripped copy of it, but that's what IMDb says. Leon, whoever that is. And in another moment of kinda clever writing, the very same insults the stepbrothers were tormenting them with earlier becomes his weapon of choice.
He beat him over the head with a pool stick. He was so mad.
Before, how was he so mad?
The guy called him a homo.
So eventually a taxi arrives at the house with Josh inside, ready to make everything right, and as he and Sam reconnect, we never actually find out how the family reacts to his reappearance. And you know what? We don't have to. This movie was so much more than a silly or stupid kid comedy, and I know now why the Home Alone line got me so irritated. That sold this movie short. This movie is really centered on the kids' emotions, more so than the idea of their escape. Home Alone, which I absolutely love, so no knocks here, focused more on the laughs than on Kevin's actual emotional state. Both are fine, of course. I just don't find it fair to put Home Alone anywhere near this movie just because it has kids in it. Josh and Sam needs to be looked at on its own and judged for its own merit. How this movie got passed over to time, I don't really know.
Like and subscribe for future content.